You know, God gave us families so we can learn things. You can learn everything you want in life from your family. I come from a very religious family. In fact, my mother is so religious, she's what we call a religious cook. Everything we had to eat was either a sacrifice or a burnt offering. I had a cousin that grew up to be a dentist. I called him up. I said, "Hey man, my teeth are getting yellow." He said, "Wear a brown tie." I have an uncle that drank too much. He lost his license with a DUI, got picked up for a PI, then he went to see the JP. And the justice of the peace called him up before the bar and looked at him and said, "Sir, do you even know why you're here?" My uncle looked up and said, "No, sir, I don't." The judge said, "You're here for drinking." My uncle said, "Let's get started." Steve told you I've been married for 20 years to the same woman. We met in Corpus Christi, Texas. I used to live there. You can drive cars out on the beaches there. And we did a lot of our courting out there. And one night we were sitting there in the beautiful full moon, the light reflecting off the waves. And we were sitting there, and I cocked eye over her, and she cocked eye over me, and we sat there looking cockeyed for a while. She looked at me with them big brown eyes. She said, "John, if you let this car top down, I'll give you a big old kiss." Well, I tell my buddies about it the next day. I said, "Man, I got that car top down in 8.5 minutes." My buddy said, 8.5 minutes? I can get mine down in 1.5 minutes. I said, "Yeah, but you got a convertible." I learned in life that when the motivation is there, you can just do almost anything. Another thing I have learned about the women folks, especially your wife, you never get in a verbal argument with a woman. God just gave them an extra gear. A woman will always get the last word in any kind of argument. The worst fight I ever had with my wife, I just got so mad I shouldn't have said it, but I looked at her and I said, "I had to marry you to find out how dumb you really are." Oh! Without missing a beat, she looked up at me and she said, "You should have known that the moment I said yes." She's always telling me, she said, "John, you only love me because my daddy left me all that money." I said, "That's a lie, baby. It didn't matter to me. Who left it to you?" A lot of people ask me, they say, "Since you do a lot of public speaking, is your wife outspoken?" I said, "Not by anybody that I know." I'll tell you something else about these women, folks. You have to always be careful. You know, men and women, they just have their minds on different planes. Every now and then they intersect, but they don't think like men do. Men don't think like women do, and you just need to learn that about life. I'll give you a good example. We went and saw a movie several years ago, and it had a sad ending. The wife died in the movie, kind of in a melancholy mood. And we were driving back. I was just tired. Saw a movie, didn't particularly like it. Wanted to go to bed. Well, her wheels start turning, and she said this. She said, "Hey, if something happened to me, would you get married again?" I said, "Oh, baby, I don't want to talk about nothing like that." She said, well, I just got me thinking, would you get married again? And I started thinking, and I said, "Well, I kind of like married life. Yeah, I probably would." That was the wrong thing to say. She said, "Oh, you would you?" And she said, "If you married that woman, would you bring her to my house and let her live in this house?" I said, "Well, if I married the woman, I would." She said, "Oh, you would you? And would you let her use my washer and dryer and my kitchen utensils?" I said, "Well, if she lived here, she would." She said, "Oh, you would you?" She said, "Well, would you let her use my brand spanking new golf clubs you got for me Christmas?" I said, "No, baby, she's left-handed." You learn about the women folk is when you make a real mess up like that, you got to put out some books. So my wife's a country western fan, so I took her to Nashville. We went to the Grand Ole Opry Hotel. Got one of the most expensive rooms there. It has an inside balcony. If you've ever been in that place, it's huge. That had a chandelier in the living room area, and it had a wooden floor. Beautiful place. We went to the Grand Ole Opry and heard the people sing, and came back. and we were watching one of them late night shows, one of them CSI shows. Had all these devices, or one of these casino shows or something, where all these devices listening and looking. And there, the old woman, she started going again, and she started thinking, this place might be bugged. I bet they're listening to us right now. And I knew I was going to be bugged to death if I didn't get up and act like I was looking for these bugs. So by the time I didn't find anything, by the time I got through, there was a big throw rug on the floor. She said, you better look under that. I pulled it back, sure enough, there was a big metal plate. She said, you better look under that. So I went and got my tools, I pulled everything up, undid it, looked at it, didn't find anything, put it all back, and went to bed. We were checking out the next day. Guy behind the counter said, everything fine? I said, everything fine. He said, no problems? I said, no problems at all. He said, I don't guess you heard about what happened to the people up under you. I said, no, what happened? He said, the chandelier fell on. Hey, if you have a good marriage, you better hold on to it. They say 1 in 2 marriages end in divorce. The rest of us, we fight it out to the bitter end. I found the secret of a happy marriage. My wife and I'll tell you the truth, for the first couple of years of marriage, it was a struggle. It really was tough. But we found the secret of a happy marriage. I like to pass it on every chance I get, because if it doesn't help you, it might help somebody that you know. What we do, and this really saved our marriage, we go out to eat twice a week. We find a nice, secluded restaurant, get a nice corner, candlelit table. We'll have a nice steak supper, listen to some nice romantic music, and then have a slow drive home through the country. I want to tell you, I really saved my marriage. I'd recommend it to all of you. We do that twice a week. She goes on Tuesday and I go on Friday.